Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios at Santander Stadium. This is York's local sports show. Talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. I'm Brandon Stoneberg alongside Teddy Feinberg and Zach Miller. We're back after a week hiatus to fill up on some turkey grub and some mashed potatoes and stuffing, which I know Teddy got into because he's a huge food person. If you've ever had 30 seconds of interaction with Teddy, you know he loves to eat.
I do.
But we're back. We got a new type of show coming your way. No more 2-hour shows. We're down to 1 hour now. We're still doing 4 or 5 segments. We're still going to give you all the high school action as always. We'll still do game balls, athletes of the week. We'll still do our Uncle Steve, Crazy's cousin stuff. We're pretty much still doing everything, just kind of shorten it, making it a little bit more compact, right, Teddy?
I think it'll enhance the product. I think that listeners will still get all the banter that they want and in a shorter, more concise period of time. And I think that we can still cover all our bases, and sometimes shorter and efficient is better. So I think in this case it will be, and I can't wait to embark on the soon-to-be 2016 year with you two fine gentlemen.
Yeah, and the winters are going to be a little easier. You know, not as many sports going on, really just basketball and wrestling to swimming to focus on. So I think we can handle that in 1 hour.
I completely agree with Zach's analysis.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're gonna be fine with just
real quick, 4 to 5 on the live stream, and then 6 to 7.
6 to 7 live on the radio for you guys. 4 to 5 on live stream, like Teddy said. So yeah, we're gonna do our winter sports. We're going to have segments for basketball, boys and girls basketball, some wrestling. I think starting next week we'll talk some wrestling stuff and some swimming stuff next week. This week we're going to do all basketball, but right now we still have some stuff to clean up from the fall. We didn't get a chance to talk about some of the end of the fall stuff. So Zach, you were at Biglerville was one of our last teams. What were our last teams? Biglerville, Northeastern, and York Catholic.
Yes, sir. That's it. Zach can start out with Biglerville. I want to say I owe all the listeners an apology, because our last program, before last week, I was talking all this smack about how Northeastern was going to hang with Susquehanna Township, and that didn't happen. But we can get into that. I just, I want all the listeners to recognize the fact that I swung and missed. So, and I can accept that. But Zach, go ahead about Biglerville. You obviously were there, and they actually, they lost thoroughly as well. And
yep. It was running clock the whole second half.
I wish our YAA teams performed better on the second round than what they did. But go ahead. What happened to your football game?
Wyomissing has been a powerhouse in this district for a long time in 2A. And when I just pulling up to the field, I was like, oh, my God, look at these Wyomissing kids. They were huge. Seriously, they made Biglerville look like an 8th grade team. And, it was just
that's
an uphill battle like that. It was 42-0 at halftime. Running clock the whole second half. Biglerville scored a couple touchdowns in the second half with playing against Wyomissing's backups. But yeah, it's really nothing bad to say about Biglerville. They had a great season. They just ran into a team that is, kind of on another planet from everybody else. It's Wyomissing and Berks Catholic, and then it's everybody else, and Biglerville's part of everybody else still. And Biglerville's going to lose a lot of players, but I think they really maximized what they were going to get out of this senior class and had a great year.
I thought they had a great year too. Last year, now they were an improved team last year. The year before, even though I wasn't here, they were pretty dreadful.
It was a 1-win team 2 years ago. Yeah,
I remember I actually did one of my first weeks at the job. I did the Biglerville preview last year, believe it or not, for the high school football tab. But I remember meeting Coach Ramos, and he was positive about the year, but they've taken a couple steps forward the last 2 years, which is really all you can ask for. Just consistent improvement. It seemed like they did that.
Yeah, and they just have a great group of kids that have all been playing together for a long time. I kind of wrote about this after the game, that a lot of these kids have been playing together since 4th or 5th grade, and they were telling me they went undefeated, I think, in 5th grade, and they had a pretty good season in 8th grade, and they've just kind of been sticking together, all of them, and then things came together the way you wanted them to this season for the most part. Those first 2 losses maybe could have gone the other way, but after that it was Biglerville won pretty much every game the rest of the season.
Yeah, and when you have that kind of success and you lose a senior class like that, you hope that they made playing for Biggerville look cool again. So you get your pool number, your talent pool numbers up a little bit. Hope more kids come out next year and say, "Oh wow, we want to play for this team."
That's a really
you don't
good point.
you don't want to have
a
the
cool
drop.
thing to do in the hallways. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, you don't want to have the drop. They had a good team in 2012 that went, I think, almost as far, maybe just as far as this year's team did. Lost a lot of seniors that year, went down to one win the following year, which is what you're talking about. And so, like Brandon's saying, you hope that you're not going to have that big of a drop off this time around. You're probably going to have a little bit of a drop off, but you hope it's not the difference of 7 wins, you know?
Yeah, I think Brandon brings up a really good point. I think in high school sports, the successful programs, playing for them is kind of the thing to do. And if you can accomplish that as a program, you're going to be in pretty good shape. So I think that's a very good point, Brandon.
Definitely. The other team we had, Northeastern, it was the same thing. Susquehanna Township, first off, they showed up late. They had some bus issues getting down here, so they didn't show up until about 40 minutes before kickoff. So Northeastern just warmed up by themselves for the first 50 minutes. And then Susquehanna Township kind of lingered off the bus.
I just see Susquehanna Township was taking the game real seriously.
Yeah, they got here late. They kind of lingered off the bus, but they were just huge compared to Northeastern. Northeastern was the bigger, badder bullies all year long in the York Adams, and then they met a real bully in Susquehanna Township, and they just got pushed around the line, which hasn't happened to them all year. They were the ones pushing, and this time they got pushed. Susquehanna Township, they were just huge along the front line. Their roster listed 280, 290, 285, 290, 300. There was no room to run for Northeastern. Valenti was on the run constantly. And then on the other side, Susquehanna Township's offense, they had 2 different guys running for 100 yards.
Throwing the ball over the field.
And then Moser, the best quarterback in the mid-pen, comes down here and plays the York Adams team, and he's just flicking his wrist, and the ball's going 50 yards, high arcing. He looked like Tom Brady playing a JV team out there in the first half. I think it was 21-0 in the first 6 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, I want to know what they're feeding these kids in other counties that they're so much bigger than the kids in York Adams.
It's a fair point.
Maybe 3 Mile Island is stunting the growth down here or something like that.
But it's not like kids here are not growing properly. It's just all these other schools have all these massive kids. How does that happen?
Well, and you know what? And one thing about football too, and I know you guys are going to agree wholeheartedly. And I don't know how often we see it on this level, but it's one thing to be big, but you can be as big as you want. You got to be an athlete too. I don't understand really. I'm with you. I don't get why. I think just more specifically, the level of play here is so far behind.
Yeah.
The others, and I'll say it again, I thought the fall sports season overall actually was a fairly disappointing one in York Adams. I thought girls volleyball obviously was great. I thought that it was great. I say great. Brandon's like, yeah. No, but I thought the overall.
I thought it was good. I thought maybe there were a couple teams that thought they could have gone further than they did. Some of the best teams.
We had a representative in all 3 district finals, which was cool.
Right.
So that was good. But once they got the states,
I think it was good. A lot of teams had success, but I think some of the top teams didn't have as much success as they maybe could have or thought they could have.
Yeah, agreed. But football was kind of the same old song and dance in terms of the playoffs. I thought Northeastern had a very good year, but and then they got through round 1. It's funny because we were talking round 1. Brandon was there. The front 7 played great on defense. The offensive line played. Then they faced Susquehanna Township, and the tables were turned literally.
Yeah, they had some good moments. They picked off Moser twice, which is a good sign for their defense. They have some young talent. Some first team type guys. Sophomore Freddie Malba had 4 interceptions, I think 3 sacks, 40 tackles from a linebacker or safety hybrid spot that he played. Tamar Willis, a sophomore, had a couple kick returns for touchdowns. So they've got some young talent. Valenti's back next year. New Johnson's back next year. So they'll be good again. And the same thing for York Catholic. They got the final score of the York Catholic Camp Hill game did not represent how much of a blowout that game was. It was a 4-touchdown game. It was almost a running clock, deep into the third quarter, and then Camp Hill put their backups in, and York Catholic ran off a few late onside kicks and touchdowns to make it look respectable. But the same thing there. Camp Hill has 5 seniors, so they're going to be right back in the district final next year. York Catholic only has 9 or 10 seniors, and none of a lot of their key players are back. Yokemik's back, Kennard's back, a lot of the guys on the line back. So we did a whole story. York Catholic's future is still bright, but those 2 could be back again next year in the district final.
Now, will they still be in the same classification next year when everything breaks down a little differently?
That's a good question. I don't remember how the classification.
I know that Biglerville kind of just missed being in 2A and is going to end up in 3A, so they're not going to avoid Wyoming missing. Should they get back to that point again? Which is too bad.
I don't remember how it worked out, but they can both be back to that point of the postseason, I guess.
It's a what have you done for me lately world. York Catholic, I believe, got off to. I mean, they really played up before YAA play. Their competition was stiff.
Yeah,
they got off to a poor start, but I think what happened was that really paid dividends once they actually hit league play because they really took off. And again, I think regionally speaking for this region, winning a game or two and advancing, that's probably what you can hope for at this point. And clearly, I thought Northeastern had a good football team, but clearly Susquehanna Township was on another level.
Yeah, it was still their best. It was still Northeastern, the furthest they've ever made it as a football program. So good sign there for them. And they had a huge crowd. I mean, they've made Northeastern. They put Northeastern football on the map for good, I think now. I mean, it's a young program. They've only been around for 8 years now. Yeah. This is the furthest they've made it. They packed their stadium, all their home games this year.
I'm thrilled for them. I'm kidding. No, it was good. I'm glad they had a good year.
We don't have any game balls because there weren't really any games to talk about because it was the holiday. We don't have any athletes of the week because there weren't any games because it was the holiday.
I got a game ball, actually. I'm going to give one to Teddy for organizing the whole basketball tab.
Look at this.
It came out really well. He deserves one.
That's honestly, Zach, that's probably the nicest thing you said to me in your tenure here.
Speaking of the hoops tab, guys, if you haven't seen it yet, go online to Game Time. I think there's 20-something stories up there combined between photo galleries and videos and stories and previews that we have checking out the girls and boys hoop season. We have the public schools, the private schools, the York Adams, the non-York Adams. We have everybody in there included. It's in the paper today. If you actually want the hard copy in your hands, the old school, do it that way. Go grab it from
Throwback Thursday.
York Daily Record or Evening Sun. You can find it in either one of those.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just want to say, just passing the ball back to you guys, I mean, you're only as good as your horses. So I thought the team played well.
And we had a lot of cooperation. Coaches were great to get back to us. Our cover, Eli Brooks, Josh Bailey, Kate Bayoff, they all did a great job coming out and going through the photo shoot with us.
Great photo by one Miss Kate Penn. So, yeah, everything came together well.
Great photo. Showed up right on the front copy. Eli Brooks showing off Spring Grove's. They got some new unis this year they're pretty excited about. Hanover's got some new Under Armour unis they're excited about. I always get excited for new uniforms. I'm excited for that part.
Yeah, I'm a big uniform guy, too. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I heard, actually, the Spring Grove kids were kind of fired up once they saw the cover because it wasn't even so much – it wasn't so much great photo, great comments. We got new uniforms.
Yeah. Then they look really nice. They look really classic. But we're finally done with football talk. No more football talk. We're going to hop into basketball after the break. We're going to come back and talk boys basketball first, division breakdowns, favorites, predictions, stuff like that. We'll see after the break.
Sounds good.
Waking up with the Steve Zabin Show.
When Mike Weir finally won the Masters as a lefty, it had broken like some 70-year stretch or something like that with no lefties winning. But since Mike Weir took the lid off lefties, 6 of the last 12 Masters tournaments have been won by southpaws. Behold, your stats of the day.
Join me, Steve Zabin, mornings at 6 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Pain doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
Getting pumped for another year of high school basketball? Tune in to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK as we lay it all out for you in the High School Basketball Spotlight. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch a preview every day this month leading up to tip-off on Sports Radio 1350. We'll break down the teams and the players of this year's York Adams League. Or go to WOYK1350.com for this year's complete lineup of high school basketball previews. And this winter, catch 2 games a week, including the High School Basketball Game of the Week every Friday. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine and only here on Sports Radio 1350.
This Sunday, a doubleheader on Sports USA. First, it's off to the Twin Cities where Russell Wilson and the Seahawks soar in to take on Adrian Peterson and the Minnesota Vikings. Then, Cam Newton and the undefeated Carolina Panthers head to the Big Easy to face Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints.
Touchdown, New Orleans!
Hawks and Vikes, then Panthers and Saints. This Sunday on Sports USA. Your home for the NFL. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm Red Lion Boys basketball coach Steve Schmale. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hey, we're back. Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg, Brandon Stoneberg, Zach Miller. We mentioned at the top of the hour we're going for an hour this winter sports season, probably in the spring as well, but we're kind of taking a wait-and-see approach. We're 4 to 5 on the live stream at GameTimePA.com. You can also check us out on 6 to 7 on WOYK. Again, our program, we work 2 hours. We cut it down, but we think the product is going to be much more hard-hitting, much more efficient, much more effective. And it's a fearsome threesome, as always. Again, Feinberg, Stoneberg, Miller, we're bringing it to you. We're going to talk high school basketball. We're going to start talking Division I boys basketball here. We have our preview out on GameTimePA.com right now for the 2015-16 season. It's also in our hard print copy. For those of you who are at the gas station, you want to pick up a copy or have a subscription, check us out there. Good content across the board. Brand, you handled the Division I boys content. Mm-hmm. We have some key questions coming into the year. We have a Q&A with Coach Schuyler. We have some key players entering the year. First and foremost, what were your key takeaways kind of previewing the season for D1 boys? What's your gut? What's your instinct tell you with the season here tipping off tomorrow night?
I think overall as a whole, the division will be better than it was last year. The thing about last year was William Penn and Central went back and forth. They played to each other 4 times. They played each other twice in the regular season. Once in the league tournament, and one for the championship, and then once in the district tournament.
Right.
So they're probably tired of seeing each other. But that's one of the best rivalries. I love when Central and York High. They have a good rivalry. It's just the only sport they're really both good at right now is boys basketball. So those games are a lot of fun.
I think we can definitely say about York High. I think Central had some other good seasons here and there for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
But boys basketball is bread and butter for both schools right now.
Right. Both of them kind of have their own storylines. For Central, they lose Sam Saxton. He's playing Lemoyne now. And they lose Charlie Gindrich, kind of surprised that one of the best big men in the league decided not to play this year.
His senior year, yeah.
And that was kind of a last-minute thing almost. So they're down to basically 1.5 starters, Coach Sheila joked with me, because they have kind of their sixth man stepping into a role. That was Nate Markey. And then they got Jerry Wagner, who's kind of he's going to be carrying the load now. He was kind of a good compliment to Saxton last year, good defensive stopper, good slasher, good all-around player, but now he's got to be the guy. And besides that, there's not a lot of size on that roster. There's not a lot of experience.
Part. I mean, you're losing your big physically big senior. Yeah. I mean, that hurts.
Yeah, they lose two big players. They lose a lot of size. So it's going to take a little bit. They got to gain some experience. They got to figure out how they can. Maybe they might not have size, but then take advantage of how many guards you have. Maybe run a 4-guard lineup. I don't know. I'm not a coach. Coach Sheila knows better than I do, but that's their storyline right now. For York High, they lost Jair Wilson and Brandon Smallwood, so they come back. I mean, they still have a loaded group of guys. I mean, they got Jacquez Cassiano, Trey Shiflett, Montrell Morgan, Chris Johnson, all back. Can they go for a three-peat? If you read Jim Slipe's article in there, no team in the districts had a three-peat in basketball since 1953, right. And they have a chance to do it this year. They've won 2 straight district titles. They got a silver 3 years ago, so they almost already had a three-peat. But again, they're going to be right there at the top. Everyone unanimously, coaches said William Penn's going to win the division.
Yeah, they have a great team. They have a great program. They have a very good coach in Coach Sowers, and I would think they are going to really be there once again. Now, Spring Grove is going to have a good team as well. The question is, can they push William Penn for that top spot?
There were some coaches outside of Division I when I was doing the content for Division III that were saying they thought Spring Grove was a contender, maybe even a favorite to win the whole league, when that league tournament season comes along. So people are definitely taking notice of Spring Grove.
Yeah, and they've had a good thing going. They went from 2 wins a few years ago with James Brooks to 7 wins to 15 wins in their first district appearance in like 2 decades or whatever it was last year. They've got most likely player of the year, Eli Brooks there. He's already got 8 or 9 D1 offers before his junior year's even started. Coach Brooks has built a great system there. They've all bought in. They've got a ton of shooters. Their thing is size as well. I think a lot of teams this year are going to struggle with size. There's not a ton of forwards, which we also talked about. A ton of guards, not many forwards in the league this year. But they've got a ton of shooters. Brooks can knock down any jumper on the floor. Darren Gordon, their kind of slasher, just committed to York College this week. He can knock down a jumper from anywhere on the floor. Liam Flaherty, their little point guard, shooting guard, small forward, can knock down to three. The lefty stroke. Grant Weirman can knock down. I mean, they got 4 or 5 guys in their lineup every night that can hit a three, so they can definitely shoot. They came within 1 point of beating William Penn for the first time in like 26 games last year. So they'll definitely push them.
I want to say at least their core. I mean, you look at guys like Brooks and Gordon, like they were the key players last year, and they're basically back. Doesn't seem like, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, they lose one guy. Yeah. They lost one guy, I believe, off the roster, and that was Eric Myers, who I think averaged 6 or 7 points. He has some key threes, but I mean, besides that, they bring back basically every starter, every key player besides Eric. So they're going to be right there pushing William Penn for sure.
Yeah, I think so for sure. You mentioned Red Lion, Dallastown. Can they possibly make a run? It'll be an interesting year. I think it's safe to say that we are going to be looking, though, at William Penn again right at the top and Spring Grove pushing them for the top spot. So, I'm excited to see how it unfolds. What about on the girls' side of the coin?
On the girls' side of the coin, it's going to come down to Red Lion and Central, I think is what every coach kind of thinks right now. Both teams went 9-3 in the division last year, and both teams bring everyone back. I think they both bring 3 or 4 starters back. Red Lion has Courtney Demoff, obviously, 5'10" guard. She can hit threes. She can play down low. She does a little bit of everything. She averaged 15 points last year, knocked down 51 3-pointers. Central has Emma Saxton, averaged 9 points, 6 boards, 3 steals as a sophomore. She's a junior guard coming up. There's 2 good guards on either side. You got Saxton and Majewski for Red Lion, and then you got Demoff for Red Lion, and Central has Shannon Valencic.
It's Nixon
Valencic. Yeah. There you go. Sophomore. She had a great year last year, 9.7 boards as a freshman. So they both got good cores coming back. They both bring everyone back, and they're expected to be at the top. Dallastown won the division last year, but they lose basically 4 starters, and they got, I think, 3 of them playing for York College right now. So,
and one of them, Amari Johnson's playing in Rhode Island.
And Rhode Island. I checked on her yesterday. She's actually played decent minutes at Rhode Island, so she's had some good time there.
Impressive as a freshman.
Yeah. So Dallastown might take a step back. I think Central and Red Lion step up. And then New Oxford could hang around. They don't have any seniors, but they have Caitlin Long, Haley Luckaball are both there. They both have a really good team. They got
first
a new
year coach. Yeah.
Jim Kunkel takes over. Saunders did really, really well with them last year. Took them to a district win, and they went really far. So
yeah, I think a lot of D1 coaches are wary of New Oxford. Like they think that's not going to be an easy game to win when they play them a couple times a year.
No, sir.
They gave pretty much everyone trouble last year.
They were much improved last year. They beat Dallastown at home.
They beat Dallastown at home. They beat Red Lion last year. So they were right there. And then Southwestern, you got one of the best scorers in the league, JC Shipley. There, she can put up big numbers any night. They got a freshman, Taylor Guyman, who they're high on. So maybe Southwestern sneaks up on you. That's not an easy win either. So really, they're not. You look on your schedule, and pretty much every game you got to bring your A game.
It's a very good individual talent on D1 girls hoops. Saxton's great. Even at William Penn, China Steele can really score the ball. Yep. They haven't had a ton of success on the court. excuse me, in recent years, but I see it being a very interesting race. I completely agree with your analysis. I think Red Lion, Central York, I think those 2 teams are definitely going to give it a very good run, and I think the losses at Dallastown are going to hurt, but they're still a well-coached team. So I see it unfolding. I think it's going to be a very good race. Last year was a great race. I think it will be again. I think that it very easily could come down to Red Lion and Central York.
For sure.
Moving on to D2 boys basketball. Again, this is an intriguing league here. Now, we have some very good players. You did a feature on the point guard position, and we're going to start right there. We're going to start with Josh Bailey at West York. He's a very good player. Kobe Nwandu. We took some heat on Twitter the other day about kind of omitting him. We weren't omitting him, first of all. We featured him in another piece, but he's another very good backcourt player, period, point blank. Brogan Nicholas is a very good backcourt player. Marquise Campbell is a very good back. Again, guards ruling the day in the YAIA. These teams have also had success on the court, but they're looking to take the next step in 2015-16.
Yeah, and West York and Northeastern are kind of their unanimous picks in this division. They both had great years last year. They went neck and neck the whole year. Some people think they might share the title. I know they don't want to share the title, but they're both going to be that good. West York has Josh Bailey, arguably the best point guard in the league coming back. They have Darian McCauley down low, who's pretty much all league, every sport he plays somehow.
Great athlete.
Great overall athlete. They have Kyle Einstig on the outside, Ian Lalick on the outside. So they have a great core, plus Bill Ackerman, arguably the best coach in the league for them. Northeastern, John Eister, another great coach, and they have a ton of talent as well. They do lose Darius Brown to Your Country Day, but they bring back Reynolds, they bring back Maxfield, they bring back Nwandu. So everyone thinks it's going to be West York Northeastern. Teams that could give them a surprise, Eastern brings back pretty much everyone, and Eastern, West York and Northeast coaches said Eastern was one of the toughest teams to beat last year. Brogan Nicholas can just score 20 every night.
You know, it's funny. Just wanted Christian Arnold, our Game Time PA staff writer, did a story on West York, and it's running in tomorrow's YDR. It's just going to be online here in a matter of minutes. But Coach Ackerman mentioned Eastern specifically. He said they're a good team. They're
a very good team. They could surprise the people. They're kind of like New Oxford and D1 girls. Like, they're not going to be easy win all year. You know, they'll hang around. I think they hung around long enough last year to make it to districts and get a win. Gettysburg went all the way to states, but they lose some key players. They lose, I think, 3 starters. They bring back Marquise Campbell, who's one of the most exciting guys to watch. He flies all over the court. One of the smallest guys in the court, flies around like an Iverson type player. He's a lot of fun to watch. And they got Max Lampy, who's a gunner, demonstrative gunner. When he hits a 3, he lets the entire gym know about it. But he's fun to watch. He's a great kid too. So Gettysburg has some talent too. Dover has Naja Fink, one of the best forwards in the league. They lose Ryan Beck, one of the league's leading scorer from last year. They have some question marks. I think it's gonna be West York, Northeastern, in some kind of order 1-2 with Eastern and Eastern and Gettysburg right behind them.
It's going to be interesting. I think obviously the loss of Brown at Northeastern, he averaged nearly 10 points a game. They were kind of a balanced team last year, so you lose that piece, and who knows what step he was going to take going into his senior season. West York, to me, looks extremely strong, and they have the great point guard, so it'll be certainly intriguing.
Yeah, and I got a chance to see West York tomorrow night at the York Suburban Tip-Off. We got West York, Redland, Suburban, and Dallastown.
That'll be intriguing.
It should be a good group.
What about on the girls' side of things, D2?
D2, it's been West York the last couple of years. They just have the dominating play. I think they won almost undefeated last year.
They did. They got they almost peaked too early. I think they were 23-0 and they lost 2 or 3 to close the season. I mean, that's what happens. Competition got stiff. Yeah. And they lost a lot, but they were a great team last season.
They lose a lot. I think their leading scorer coming back is Olivia Solberger, who's kind of like a third or fourth option on that team last year. So they have a lot of holes to fill. Suburban was knocking on that door last year. Suburban's been trying to catch up to West York. They lost to West York 3 times last year. Couldn't quite get over the hump. Is this the year they can do it? All they really have to place is they have to replace their leading scorer, Mingora, but they bring a ton back, and they bring a lot of size back. Their front line reads 6'1", 5'10", 5'10", and on the girls' side, that's pretty strong.
They also, Jess Barley won Game Time PA Coach of the Year last year, so she's back obviously on the bench. They're going to make some noise. They're a very well-coached team, very well-structured. She runs her practices extremely, they go hard at it in practice, so they're going to be a good basketball team. Gettysburg, new coach. What can you guys tell us about Max Lang?
He's been with the program for a while. I think he was actually an assistant before Casey Thurston, the previous coach, came in. She took an assistant coaching job at Gettysburg College, so it was a nice step up for her into the college game. But yeah, Max has been around the program for a long time. I'm sure the kids are familiar with him. But they're trying to get things going after a big struggle of a season last year. Only 3 wins, I think.
Yeah, that's 3-18 last year, so they're clearly looking to rebound. They had a coaching change there. Northeastern also had a coaching change. Bill Novick, he stepped down before the end of last year. They hired Gary Sutton, a radio play-by-play personality over the years in the area. He now gets on the bench as well, so that'll be highly intriguing. Again, good players across the board in this league. Jordan Kloster, very solid guard. Ashley Stone, once again, Susquehannock, she's a good player. Brandon mentioned Solberger. She averaged just over 6 points per game last year. They're looking for her to pick it up a bit, to fill some of the scoring void after they lost Langford, and another 1,000-point scorer off their roster last season. And Raya Fink, the Fink family represents strong at Dover. Raya Fink, she's a great player. She has her sister Raja on the team, and of course their brother plays on Dover's boys team.
Out of Dover's basketball program, boys and girls, their 3 best players all have a last name Fink.
Right. honestly, it's one of those things. Yeah, you look at the book, or I don't think they have last names on their jersey, but they're also spelled similar. It's almost like if they had the last name, their entire first name would be on the jersey too. But yeah, it should be a highly intriguing season. And I think on both the boys and the girls side, we're really looking forward to it. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Division III girls hoops and also break down some of our other subplots and storylines entering the 2015-16 season. You're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA.
Payne doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
Getting pumped for another year of high school basketball? Tune in to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK as we lay it all out for you in the High School Basketball Spotlight. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch a preview every day this month leading up to tip-off on Sports Radio 1350. We'll break down the teams and the players of this year's York Adams League. Or go to WOYK1350.com for this year's complete lineup of high school basketball previews. And this winter, catch 2 games a week, including the High School Basketball Game of the Week every Friday. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine and only here on Sports Radio 1350.
Did you know that Shipley Energy can take care of all your energy needs? From heating oil and propane to providing your home with electricity and natural gas. We also provide heating and air conditioning service and installation. All of your energy needs are under one roof at Shipley Energy. To learn more, visit ShipleyEnergy.com. Call 855-4-SHIPLEY and don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hi, I'm West York boys basketball coach Bill Ackerman. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
We're back. Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Teddy Feinberg, Zach Miller, Brandon Stoneberg with you for an hour today and throughout the winter sports season. It'll typically be us three. John Buffon makes his appearance as well. Christian Arnold has joined us as well. We got to get Matt Allabone on here. I mean, let's be honest. No one's going to be left unscathed. I mean, people need to, throw their hat in the ring. So we'll get Allabone on here as well, and we'll make some moves throughout the winter sports season. Today we are talking primarily high school basketball preview. Our preview section came out today. It's on newsstands. Of course, we have our digital component as well on GameTimePA.com. There you can find. We did some video analysis. We did some photo galleries. It's just some. There's more content online, obviously, but the print edition, you can get a heaping helping of high school hoops entering the 2015-16 season, which officially tips off tomorrow. And with that being said, we're going to talk YAIAA Division III boys basketball. Brandon said at the break it's a crapshoot. Zach, you previewed the D3 boys race. Why don't you tell us about that crapshoot and what you took away working on your preview?
Yeah, from talking to everybody, nobody knows who's going to win this division, and it's really hard to even name a favorite because I think there are a lot of teams that definitely think they can win it. I mean, Delone Catholic, coming off a 12-12 season, 3 starters back, definitely thinks, within their locker room that they could be a favorite to win. Hanover, obviously, great season last year. Still have a couple guys back, and Kraut and McQueen. Also have Hunter Mars coming back from an injury. That's a guy they didn't have last year. So, I mean, obviously a lot to replace with Dylan Krieger gone. And
Krieger averaged well over 20 points per game last year.
Krieger's the program's all-time leading scorer.
Yeah.
So
averaged over 20 points.
Obviously not going to just gloss over that. A couple other starters as well. So plenty.
I'm glad we're not. But
plenty to replace.
They also lose Balsherman, who was kind of their defensive stopper and glue guy and three-point shooter, and they lost Jacob Rhodes, who was one of the best rebounders in the league.
One thing I will say, just working on these previews throughout, I would think just the way high school sports is, 4-year program is very cyclical. So a lot of programs lose guys, but they lost 9 seniors. That's a ton.
Yeah, that's a lot, and you can't replace that right away. Maybe if they can get things going and kind of peak at the end of the season with some guys that are getting accustomed to playing, that might be their best shot. But again, this is a winnable division, so are they going to have the success in districts that they had last year? Probably not, but can they still compete for a division title? Sure, because there's no team that's definitely standing out. I think Biglerville, too, thinks they have a chance. I think losing record last season, but 4 starters back. That's a team that actually has guys coming back. A lot of close games last year against some of the best teams. Maybe that's a team that, if they can figure out a way to close out close games, is able to win the division.
Yeah, Bigleyville was kind of a weird up and down. They would have a really close game with a Hanover or DeLone, and then they would lose to a Fairfield or something like that. But they bring back Noah Ayers, a gunner, 18 points a game as a junior.
Yeah, he could get to 1,000 for his career this season.
They have some young guys. It sounds like they're excited about Dalton Cox.
They also have a 6'5" freshman.
So yeah, the freshman. Yep. So they have 2 freshmen. Looks like coming off the bench, 6 foot or taller. So I mean, Bigleyville could be right there as a dark horse. Hanover has to replace a bunch, but they could still be there. York Catholic loses Martello, but they bring Fortune back, and they get some transfers from York High. It's Hanover, DeLone, Bigleyville if I had to choose between the three of them, or between.
Locally, from a York standpoint, Martello, I mean, he was kind of our Dylan Krieger. It seemed like when they called up, Martello always drained anywhere from 16 to 23 points. He was consistently scoring the basketball. So, yeah, we'll see how they do replacing those players. And that's not the only roster spots that need to be replaced going into the new year. We're going to shift gears to the Division III girls side of the ledger. And there's a lot of replacements that need to be had with some very good programs. York Catholic lost, I want to say, 4 starters. Granted, they're a program that typically doesn't rebuild. They just reload, but they certainly have to do that this year. Sukanna Tracy is out with injury at Hanover. That's really a bummer for her. She was on pace to break the Hanover scoring record from a girl's standpoint. That will not happen anymore. She's done for the year with a knee injury. Maddie Comley, her resume speaks for itself. She's now playing college at Fairleigh Dickinson University. She averaged 22.7 points per game. Zach, talk about those losses and how those teams try to fill in the gaps in 2015-16.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, obviously York Catholic has girls that they know about that we don't necessarily know about, but they've known about for a while coming up through the JV system.
And we do know about their program.
Yeah, we stopped by their practice last week, and they have like 70 girls out there, so they definitely have a good talent pool to pull from.
It was definitely it was an army out there.
Yeah, it felt like every girl in the school was in basketball.
But that's a good example of what Brandon was talking about earlier. Like that's clearly you win, kids want to suit up.
Right. 10 straight district championships. Who wouldn't want to play for that team?
That's right.
Yeah. DeLone Catholic, they lost Comley, but a lot of the roster is back. It's just a matter of getting some girls to step up. I had a kind of funny conversation with Coach Eckenrode, and he was telling me about how he's trying to get some of his girls to be comfortable shooting the ball. He was saying Katie Lockman, the point guard, he's saying she has a nice shot. She just kind of is a little afraid to shoot sometimes. She's used to, passing off to good players, and he's telling her, hey, you got to shoot the ball or I'm going to find somebody else who will. And it's just a matter of getting some of these girls, Allie Shipley, Elise Knobloch, Jill Novak, getting them to be comfortable taking the shots that were going to Comley last season. But they got the players.
It is interesting. You lose a player like that, and all of a sudden the returning players, their roles change.
Exactly.
They have to – you can't be the same player you were last year. And that goes for sports in general. If you come back to a program, I don't care if it's high school, college, pro, you have to keep improving your skills.
Yeah, and that's something Coach Benko said from York Catholic is every team is different every year. Even if you have 4 starters back, it's still a brand new team. And that's something you're talking about with, even if you just lose one player, roles start to change and it's an entirely different team than it was the previous year.
Right. The good players I've covered in my career in journalism, to be honest with you, they always came back better players. And you have to respect that. And in basketball, you can run all the 5-on-5 drills you want. Becoming a better player in basketball is through straight individual work in that gym, getting in there and putting in the time solo. And but again, the roles change, the expectations. Hey, we need you to be a primetime scorer. And Maddie Comley's not next to you anymore.
Right,
now.
Exactly. You can't just rely on her. When the game's close, you can't just pass to her. But it's funny, some of these girls might be better scorers than we realize or, have worked on their games, and we'd be surprised. There was a team I covered in Florida a couple of years ago that was a very good team, had a lot of good players, but they were mostly seniors. Seniors left, and the next year, their point guard, who honestly hardly scored any points, she was just a facilitator, all of a sudden she was dropping like 30 a game, and it was like, oh, okay, this girl can really play. She just didn't have to in her previous role. Right. But, we'll find out, who's going to carry the scoring load for a lot of these different teams. And yeah, you mentioned Hanover. Obviously, that's not a loss they were expecting to have. That's just something they're going to have to deal with when Tracy got hurt in the offseason.
Disappointing.
For DeLone, though, I can see Shipley having a huge year because anytime Conley was in foul trouble, or even when Conley was on the floor, she was the second option. She had big games last year. There were a few games she went for 15, 16, 18, 20 points.
Yeah, and I think her name was the first one out of Coach Eckenrode's mouth as somebody that can step up. But, it's not going to be just a matter of Conley scored like 22 points a game. It's not somebody, hey, you got to now score 22 more points. Yeah. It's 4 players pitching in, and each scoring a few more points a game to make up for that 22.
Right, and for York Catholic, we saw Bayhoff at the photo shoot, and she was joking around that she averaged 10 points as a freshman, and she was passing the ball constantly. She said she kind of laughed. She's like, now I can take my own shots and have the ball.
I expect them to be a good team. Kate and her mother, who was also at the photo shoot, they were saying, I was talking to them about the ball club, and again, they may have lost a bunch of seniors, but I think everyone stepping in the starting lineup, with the exception of Kate, who started last year, I think everyone else stepping in the starting lineup is a senior this year. So
right, it's not such a bad situation to have where maybe your best player is coming back, even though you're losing 4 starters.
And everyone's coming, and then you have mature kids stepping in the lineup of a program that's won 10 straight division champions or District 3 championships. I think they'll be just fine. Speaking of District 3 championships and consecutive District 3 championships, just want to touch on some of the features that were in our preview section as well. Jim Sipe did a story on the William Penn Bearcats. They are going for their 3rd straight District 3 championship. This is on the boys' side of the ledger. The last time that was done was in 1955 through 1957, Reading High School. So they're going for straight history, folks, and that cannot be overlooked. That is a big deal. The key player on Reading's team back then, former New York Knicks general manager Stu Jackson. I say that because when I first became an NBA fan, Stu Jackson was the GM of the Knicks.
Wow.
He was also an NBA player, so just a fast fact. And Brandon mentioned William Penn earlier this year. Expect them to be right there again. Montrell Morgan is nothing short of a first-class point guard. Chris Johnson is a big-time athlete running the court. Trey Shiflett is another guard that they bring back to the fold. They're going to be a very strong team once again. So big-time history on the line at William Penn. Brandon did our coverage story on guard play entering the new year and how it's a very guard-dominated conference or league, whatever you want to call it, and just how the guard position across all walks of basketball has really changed the face of the game. And, I mean, we discussed it already, Brandon, a little bit, but I don't know. I don't think you learned anything doing the story. It kind of was, we sat down, we figured out that it would be a good angle to approach, and you did it. But anything that you learned walking away from it from a YAIAA standpoint?
I think with the biggest thing is what how they all want the ball in their hands. They all said, sure, passing's great, and all that, but they all want the ball in their hands. Bayhoff wants Bailey, Brooks, they all said the same thing. They also said one of the things that stood out was a lot of them mentioned, without even hearing each other's answers, that forwards or the position of forward or center is losing some ground in high school basketball because all the forwards and centers want to be like Steph Curry still. You have a bunch of 6'4" kids trying to play like they're 5'8" or 5'9". So if everyone's trying to be a guard, then everyone's a guard. Who's really a true center if those guys want to step out and hit 30-foot jump shots?
There's no doubt that there is a huge emphasis on all players across all walks of basketball being able to handle the ball.
Yeah.
You can be 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" still, but how many of those players are just running down the court, getting on the low block and calling for the ball? It just doesn't. All of them are at least stepping out 10 to 15 feet, and they have some sort of a handle and jump shot. Things have, basketball's just changed in general.
Yeah, offenses aren't so inside out as they used to be. Now it's more of like a, spread the floor, use a lot of space, a lot of speed, try to get out in transition. And, it creates a lot more openings, a lot of different openings, and it's just, it's a little more complicated, but I feel like it's kind of more fun to watch, that fast spread out game.
Yeah, and then there were some cool answers. I asked, I think, 7 or 8 different guards around the league, who their favorite basketball player to look up to was, and there's, I think, 5 out of 8 said Steph Curry. Mm-hmm. There's an Allen Iverson one in there. Then I asked them, who are your favorite fellow guards to watch in the league? And
I loved that because they threw some names out there that maybe, not that we overlooked them, but we didn't have space for it in the story.
Yeah.
Like an Elise Knobloch, for instance, was a great answer.
Yeah, Kyle Krause said Max Lampe from Gettysburg. J.C. Shipley said Susanna Tracy from Hanover.
Elise Knobloch from DeLone Catholic.
Said that was a random one, a Red Line DeLone connection. Bayhoff said Emma Saxton.
Yeah, I like that one.
Montrell Morgan said Josh Bailey, Donovan Maxfield. Wagner and Brooks said each other. So there's some cool answers. Check that out. Also, that's in the Hoops preview as well.
Also, what makes a good guard? Most of them said basically the answers to those was you just have to do it all. That was
see the floor, be a leader, and then a list of 10 other things.
And then by the way, you got to be able to shoot the ball too. And yeah. That was good stuff.
Everything.
Cool deal. Again, we are here for just an hour. On the live stream, we are here till 5 p.m. on GameTimePA.com. On the radio dial, we are here from 6 to 7 on WOYK. We are coming back next round with our Crazy Cousins segment and kind of recapping the week that was and the week that will be. Check us out, Game Day with GameTimePA.
Payne doesn't take Sunday off. Neither do we. We're open weekdays 8 to 8 and weekends 9 to 6. Just walk into WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, 2319 South George Street in York, across from the Apple Hill Health Campus. Visit wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics today.
Getting pumped for another year of high school basketball? Tune in to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK as we lay it all out for you in the High School Basketball Spotlight. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine. Catch a preview every day this month leading up to tip-off on Sports Radio 1350. We'll break down the teams and the players of this year's York Adams League. Or go to WOYK1350.com for this year's complete lineup of high school basketball previews. And this winter, catch 2 games a week, including the High School Basketball Game of the Week every Friday. Presented by WellSpan Sports Medicine and only here on Sports Radio 1350.
The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. Welcome to WOYK's High School Basketball Spotlight. Brought to you by WellSpan Sports Medicine, the official healthcare and sports medicine provider of the York Revolution.
Whether you refer to their home as William Penn or York High, the Bearcats have one of the better basketball teams in the area, and they proved it last year for repeat of the district championship. This year, they will attempt to do what has never been done before and three-peat the district title. We talked to head coach Troy Sowers and how he plans to approach this season.
Well, I was really pleased with the team last year. We set really high goals coming into the season, and basically they're always the same. We want to win our tip-off tournament, win the McCaskey tournament, and then win our division, the county, the district, and the state titles. We met most of those goals last year, with the exception of the state championship, which is a lofty goal, especially for Quad A teams. But winning the division, the county, and the district title really felt good for me, my players. Sent our seniors off with a repeat of the District 3 title, which wasn't done in, I think, 50 years at York High. So we have a chance now to three-peat next year, which has never been done by a Quad A school. So although we met our goals last year, it just seems like we want to keep striving and moving forward. So now I think the goals get a little tougher this year because we have to repeat and three-peat, which is difficult to do. I think tenacity in how we play and the level of conditioning that we're in, they're always two givens that we bring to the table. And then we just want to work on the skills that we need to do to get better. And hopefully come February, March, we're in the mix again.
Catch a preview every day as we break down the teams and players of the 2015-2016 York Adams League on WOYK's High School Basketball Spotlight. Brought to you by WellSpan Sports Medicine. And make sure to check out every team preview on WOYK1350.com. Have you been injured? At WellSpan Urgent Orthopedics, no appointment is needed. Learn more at wellspan.org/urgent orthopedics.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill. And don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY. And don't forget to ask about our $100 rebate. Shipley Energy. Energy for life.
Hi, I'm York High Boys basketball coach Troy Sowers. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Brandon Stoneberg, Teddy Feinberg, Zach Miller. Because we're an hour segment now, this is it for us. This is our last 12 minutes we're here for. We're going to do our kind of a quick, efficient version of our Crazy Cousins Uncle Steve segment. I'm going to throw some talking points at Teddy and Zach and see what they think. Something just came across text and Twitter about right before the show started. Just random, off the wall, has nothing to do with high school sports. I want to ask you guys. Super Bowl 50, it's a big deal. It's the 50th one, and they got Coldplay as the halftime entertainment. I don't even know what a Coldplay is.
It could have done better than that.
I don't. Could you even?
Wait, this is for the Super Bowl?
This is for the Super Bowl entertainment. That's the halftime show this year. Not
Coldplay. I mean, like Coldplay is fine, but it's not. It doesn't like get you excited.
Zach always has to like balance me out. I'd say something like
no. You guys are a great team.
I'm
you
just
guys
being
have
fair.
you guys have a symbiotic thing going on. Yeah, I don't have an issue with it. Then again, I am not like. I'm not watching the Super Bowl like for the halftime show.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I probably won't even really watch the halftime show, like, to be honest.
No, I mean, I get down with Coldplay. Like, I mean, whether it plays well, like, in the Super Bowl setting. Like,
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's good. Like, it's fine music, but, like, it's not, like, hype up music. It's
fine
kind of, like,
with
slower, like, I don't know. It's, like, slower, more calm music. I don't know. It's the Super Bowl. Let's get excited. Let's be jumping around.
Like, I'm fine with it.
I just feel like they could have got literally anybody to come for Super Bowl 50. Like you got like they could have done better than Coldplay.
This should be a big one.
Well, who do you want? I mean, who do you want?
Somebody our generation knows.
Brandon wants Drake. I know that.
But hold on. You're saying your generation. Not everyone's 24 and 25, Brandon.
They got to appeal to the younger audience. You guys had your days with McCartney and all that.
No,
after the Janet Jackson thing, we had McCartney. We had those old guys.
But no, don't.
There were a lot of older ones.
Don't date me either with McCartney, but no. I mean, the point is that
you can't go from Beyonce and Bruno Mars to Coldplay.
Like, what generation is Coldplay? It's just kind of like
I think Coldplay is like probably like we're looking like 25 to 35.
That's Coldplay. I don't even know who they are.
I mean,
I thought they're a bunch of older.
No, they're not.
I mean, you're not gonna like them.
I think
there's
they
no
still
point
make.
trying to convince.
I think
you
they still make new music, or like have recently.
So does my 5-year-old sister with her little banjo thing. Doesn't mean we have
to play. Like I said, like honestly, I'm totally fine with it. With that being said, like. I don't care. I mean, I'm not like. Right. I mean, honestly, like I just want to see.
There are some people who just watch for lesser fans watch for the commercials in the halftime show.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care, but I will say,
I love the commercials.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all about it. Halftime show. Brandon mentioned my food thing. You see me at halftime show, I got my head in the cheese dip. Okay, I'm not like really worried about like Bruno Mars. Like just for the record.
I guess my reaction was just surprise. Like if you told me like, hey, guess who Super Bowl 50 got to play halftime? You could have given me 50 guesses. I don't think Coldplay would have been one of them. Right.
That's very true. Like Coldplay was just the most random name. Like
I
had to hurry up and Google. Just to remember, like to figure out what songs I know that Coldplay plays.
You will know songs.
I just want to see like Tom Brady airing it out in the Super Bowl, and then the halftime show can be whatever it's got to be.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I despise Tom. Of all the people you picked, Tom Brady, the villain of all.
I feel like the Patriots. It's Super Bowl 50. Like I want some like two like older school teams. Like I want like the Patriots in there against like the Packers or something. Like so that would be Super Bowl 50.
I want to see I want to see the Packers. I don't want like a Carolina New England Super Bowl like that.
Yeah, I don't want Carolina like Super Bowl 50. Like they can make it in 51. That's fine.
No, I honestly like I just want to see a great game. I want good food and the halftime entertainment. I mean, while people are watching that, I got someone in the headlock in the back. I'm that guy.
Actually, no. I want to see Green Bay Denver. I want to see Denver get hot, and maybe Peyton has 3 or 4 more games, kind of like Ray Lewis did at the end. Like Ray Lewis was hurt all year the year the Ravens won. He came back in the playoffs and got to go out on a high note. I want to see Peyton get one.
I feel like it's more fun if the Patriots are there.
There's interesting subplots with everything going on. I'll say this right now: if Gronkowski's injury is serious, the Patriots will not play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I agree.
And bottom line is this: in terms of this Osweiler character. We'll just see how things play out over the next few weeks.
Hey, he played.
Well. I take nothing away from the young man.
When I was at Mizzou, he played Arizona State, I think twice, or he might have only been there the first time, and they beat us in overtime. I remember being like, "This guy is 6'10". This guy's huge.
No, he made big time plays for them down the stretch. I'm just saying there's still a long way to go in terms of the halftime entertainment. I'm fine with Coldplay. Bring them on.
Now it's way too early to do our college football rankings for boys basketball and girls basketball. But if you look
really early,
they haven't played a game yet.
But if you want to look in your crystal ball, who do you think?
These are preseason rankings. This is our preseason.
So we're doing top 4.
I mean, give me like a roughly, maybe not like an exact top 4, but give me roughly on the boys side and girls side. Who do you think is still going to be there come March or whatever?
I mean, I can commonly. Well, go ahead, Zach. I don't want.
I think for girls, I think DeLone Catholic and York Catholic are going to be there. I know they have girls to replace. They're going to do it. They're going to be fine. They're going to win a lot of games in the York Adams Division 3. It's still going to be, the private schools beating up on the public schools, I think. And, they'll still be around deep into districts. I think York Catholic will still contend for yet another district title. Hopefully DeLone finds a way to, be in the mix too. I think for girls, those are the first two that come to mind immediately, because when I first got here at the end of February last year, they were still playing, and I think it's going to be the same way this year.
I think in the other two divisions, I think it's I could see York Suburban overtaking West York this year. I think it's York Suburban's year. I just think West York has a little bit too much maybe to try and replace, especially scoring wise and toughness. And
there's no doubt they lost a ton.
I think York Suburban just has too much size. They're too good at defense. They're too good rebounding to lose, I think, this year. I think it'll be close, but I think Suburban pulls out D2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because they're not really used to being in the driver's seat. But, yeah, so that'll be an interesting race. But there's no doubt that West York lost a lot and Suburban brings back a lot.
Yeah. And then for Division One, I think that's pretty much a toss-up, I think, between – I mean, you can make a case for Red Line for sure. You can also make a case for, Central and New Oxford, or even Dallas. You can't count out Dallastown. I mean, they won the division last year just because they lose, a bunch of guys. Look what their football team did. We thought the same thing. Oh, they won a division.
Yeah,
but they
you
lost
don't know who's coming up.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Since we're kind of trying to do it like the football rankings, I'll just say D2 and D1 combined. I like West York. I think West York brings back on the boys' side. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boys now. Yeah.
Brandon was looking at me with a cocked brow. I think that I like their point guard. I like their big man. I like their coach. I like what they're bringing back. I think they're going to be a very good team. I obviously really like William Penn. I like the fact that even with William Penn, it's cool because it's the one sport they really rock out in, and I respect that and the history there.
Yeah, I think Spring Grove has to be in the mix. So we're talking about top boys teams.
Yeah, I would say Spring Grove and William Penn, and then I would say Northeastern and West York, and then maybe if Hanover DeLone gets hot, maybe a wild card from D3.
Perhaps.
Yeah, it's too early to say for a Division 3 team.
Yeah, I definitely really like I like West York though. I think that even in the grand scope of all the divisions. And what's cool about hoops, you get the YAIA tournament, even though it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme.
It's so much fun.
Oh, it's fun.
The matchups are awesome.
It's like conference tournaments too, except even better though because you don't really see these teams play in the regular season.
Yeah. What was it last year? Hanover had a great year, and then they actually played someone. That was kind of a disappointing game, but I remember going into the game, it was like, this is kind of intriguing.
They played West York, and it was a cross division. They played similar styles, and everyone was like, man, this is going to be exciting. I hyped it up in the evening sun and game time down there. I put a prediction, Hanover upset by 3. Hanover ended up losing by 45, and Ackerman saw me afterward. He was like, "Thanks for the bulletin board material."
Yeah, no,
I was like, "Hey, man, thanks for reading." The fact that you read it is cool.
I was going to say that never happens to us, man. Yeah. We never build something up and then just have it completely crash. Yeah, that was classic.
That was a good one. Spring Grove Northeastern met in the tournament. That was a cool one. Anytime Northeastern plays one of the Division 1 teams, it's a lot of fun.
I love the YAIA hoops tournament. Yeah. It's classic.
Yeah, you get matchups you wouldn't otherwise get. It's almost like the bowl games in football. You get teams from different regions playing that are similar level teams,
I think we got
that's what it is like. Yeah. It's like Bowling Green's playing UConn. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's the one time Penn State's gonna play Florida or something. You know
I'm
what
actually
I mean?
in the minority here too. I know people. I love the bowl season in football. I like it for that reason. I like the quirky matchups and that because again you get the crossover.
Well, you get most of the time. I mean, it's fun to have these rivalry games and see the same teams playing every year. But sometimes it's fun to hey, let's see Ohio State play Stanford. You're
gonna get that. You're gonna get the rivalry no matter what.
On the girls' side last year was the same thing. We had DeLone played West York in the league championship, which is an awesome matchup you never get to see. I think they play in the regular season this year, actually, in the 10 must-see games. I did check that out.
Great plug.
DeLone plays those guys. I think York Catholic played Central or something like that. Just a lot of cool cross-division matchups that you never get to see. It's a lot of fun.
No, it is cool stuff. So, yeah, those are the teams I definitely – and then, I've always – and then just speaking about that, we've always had the interesting question, and we ran through it a bunch of times on the show last year. What would it be like – York Catholic with their program, speaking of D3, the girls playing, the bigger schools around here, and you get a chance to see that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic for another day, but I think maybe they should do something with the division structure to get the private school, measure their enrollment a little differently in terms of the YAIA, but that's we only have a couple minutes left, and that's a discussion for another time.
We definitely dive into that throughout the winter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Just throwing that out there for you guys to think
I think
about.
It's a great idea. I mean,
they do in a lot of sports. They're number 1 and 2 if you look at it. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. And then they're up against the Fairfields and Biggervilles of the world, Littletowns. It's it's not fair to those schools really. I know they hate it. A lot of them.
It's a great. I completely.
I think football makes sense, but some other sports not so much.
Yeah. We're going to do it.
We're going to talk about it next week.
I
need time to prepare.
Well, one thing we are doing next week, I just want to throw this out there. Wrestling, we're doing big, and we're going to do swimming too. So we're not overlooking those sports. We had our hoops preview come out.
I know a lot of fans are going to be happy we're doing wrestling next week.
Yeah, we wanted to break.
I will be at Spring Grove's dual meet on Wednesday. That's the plan, against Mechanicsburg, which has a pretty good program
what
too.
Is that?
That's on Wednesday the 9th. Okay. So
I think Tuesday the 8th, I'll be at Spring Grove Central boys basketball. Early gauge to see to see what Division 1
So also, I've messed around with Periscope a little bit. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's, a way to live stream things online. I got a new little iPod stand. I'm planning on trying it, trying to live stream some wrestling stuff via Periscope. So I'm going to give that a try on Wednesday. So if you like Spring Grove mechanics for wrestling, check it out.
Definitely going to give you a retweet.
Oh, yeah.
And we're definitely going to hop into wrestling, swimming, and we're going to touch on basketball again next week, too. I just don't want any of our loyal listeners thinking that we've overlooked anything, because we have not. Been a great program again. Hour long was an adjustment. It'll be like that throughout the winter. Faster, efficient, effective. Our mantra going into 2016. Game Day with Game Time PA. Listen to us every week, 4 to 5 on the live stream on GameTimePA.com and 6 to 7 on WOYK. Thanks for listening.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.